My biggest enemy is not out there somewhere. It's me. It's inside of me. I've lost track of the amount of times I've sabotaged my own health, my finances, my relationships, my career. And I wince at some of them because the opportunity that was given was so great, but at the last second I backed away. But why would anyone destroy their own progress? And that's what I'm going to unpack today. There are a few reasons, of course, why we self-sabotage, and I'll go into my own experience. But I think we all know the top ones. And I suspect we all have a combination of a few of these. It's easier to have never tried than to try and fail. And I think this is the one that most people are aware of. The biggest trigger for self-sabotage is the fear of failure. A few years ago, I was talking to this girl online, and even when I was younger, when I was slimmer, when I was objectively more attractive, not to push my own buttons, but, more attractive than this, I felt like she was so far above me that I literally and consciously sabotaged the conversation so she would block me because I didn't know what to do. And God forbid I was successful. God forbid I actually got on a date with her, because what would I do then? My fear was that she would realize that I am not the person that she had got to know. And she would look at me and think, who the hell is this guy? I didn't even want to get into this situation where that could be a possibility. So I literally lied to her in the conversation. A lie which I would not go into because it's embarrassing, but it was a lie that I knew would turn her off. And it worked. I got what I wanted. And I immediately regretted it because not only was she a very beautiful woman, she was also just a lovely, kind person, at least from our conversations. And I sabotaged it, knowing that. A lot of the sabotage we do is sort of unconscious, I think, subconscious. But this one definitely wasn't. I think it's important to look back on these different examples. And it really took thinking about this video that I actually remembered doing that. I had completely scrubbed that from my brain, but that is one of the earliest examples, way before I was in this situation with finances and my body like this. I was a little bit chubby, but I wasn't this. And even then, I was sabotaging my own success. Failure is a lesson, not proof of unworthiness. Another big one that I fall into, and you may do as well, is what actually happens if I am successful. Sometimes I'm scared of what if this actually works? Then what? I think the biggest example of this where I lost out on a considerable opportunity was where I had an interview locked in for a marketing role that paid more money than I've ever had before. And it was an opportunity to learn about an industry that I actually was interested in. I was going to be able to learn more about social media marketing, video creation, way before I started this YouTube channel. But the day before the interview, I convinced myself, nah, I actually would prefer to stay in the job I'm already in. And that's partly laziness, which I'll talk about next, the need to stay comfortable. What if they now find out that I'm a fraud? I have to maintain this level of success. This is now a new level that I'm on. It was a new level of expectation, the pressure of expectation. But in hindsight, I really could have upgraded my life. It was work from home, it was more pay than I've ever had before. You might think I have many regrets, and that's not entirely true, but that is one of them. And it would have provided me skills that would have taken me in a completely different direction. I remember thinking at the time I was walking through town, and I think, yeah, you made the right decision, mate. Yeah, even though there was a pit in my stomach because I knew that it wasn't. Another big thing that I seem to sabotage myself with, or at least use an excuse, is the comfort in the familiar, which I find is funny. And I think about this actually very, very often because you can get very, very comfortable in pretty bad situations. It becomes normal to you. If you are comfortable, and I am actually very comfortable, there's half of me that does not want to do a thing. The other half of me is trying to sprint the other way as fast as humanly possible, which causes a disconnect. It causes such frustration, and you have probably felt this as well. You are holding yourself back through your sabotage, through your own self-talk, and it's the most annoying thing because you can see it. You know what to do. You just can't do it because half of you is holding you back, and for some reason, these self-sabotage techniques that we've learned or subconsciously learned or mastered are so strong that it keeps us stuck. And comfort is one of the best examples of this. The times in my life when I've had the most success, and there's not been many of them, but I'm successful moderately in the grand scheme of things. I'm not in poverty. I'm not starving, obviously. but it's not quite bad enough for me to completely pelt it down the road. But in the times that I have actually moved the needle are those times where things got a bit desperate. It's those sorts of times that I did manage to change something, because the misery of that situation, at least momentarily, outweighed the misery of staying in my comfortable position, because it was no longer comfortable enough. It had changed just enough for me to actually take action and better something in my life. I think the best remedy for this, and it's something I've learned even just through making YouTube videos, is that growth is very uncomfortable. If you can withstand the slight pressure, the slight uncomfortableness, depending on what you're trying to do, and if you can do that for a long enough period of time, you can see that not only can you do it, but it's not that bad. Growth feels uncomfortable because it's new, not because it's wrong. And linked to that comfort, that wanting to stay in that comfortable position, is laziness and short-term pleasure. The sabotage often comes disguised as comfort. This is probably the most poignant one out of the list for me, because I've made several videos and I've actually made this entire channel about these short-term pleasures. Recently I made a video about social media, dopamine hits, scrolling, endless scrolling, being a consumer. Those were all choices of short-term pleasure over long-term success. It's not that I didn't know what I was doing. It's not that I didn't know what the cost would be. Financial, physical, spiritual, mentally, for nearly all of my life. Even though I've had big dreams and big goals for the majority of my life, I have supplanted that with short-term pleasure. I have chosen Pepsi and snacks, chocolate, sweets as a way to cope, yes, because at some point the cycle started, the need to cope with the situation that I'm in. And I've always used food to deal with that emotional stress. But at some point, and a long time ago, and for a long time now, I've been using that excuse as a way to sabotage and not push myself any further. You can use any number of these things to sabotage yourself away from progressing to the goal that you have. But it's just not good enough. And that's what I keep telling myself. These ideas and thoughts and reasons that we sabotage ourselves consciously or subconsciously are just not good enough, and we'll reach the end of our life and we'll have nothing but regret that we allowed short-term pleasure, laziness, fear of failure, fear of what your family's going to say or your friends are going to say or do. Because once you look back, and I have a big fear of regret, I just know that it's going to be a horrible existence, knowing that because I bought too many 8 packs of Pepsi, I never quite got out of debt. I never quite built wealth because I didn't allow myself far enough out of the hole to learn those skills. This is where discipline comes in, of course, because you're swapping it around. You're swapping short-term pleasure for long-term success. And once you can successfully integrate that mindset, you don't have to go extreme like I seem to lean towards. It's not that you're deferring a happy life forever, because that can become toxic as well. Discipline is a muscle that I have never really truly trained. And I think I'll be talking about this a lot more in future videos, because this is something that I must train. There's been glimpses here and there. I'm certainly better than I used to. At least I'm aware of it. I'm at least aware of its value now. But ultimately that's not good enough, and I have to actually implement these things. The fear of losing it all, or how I would internalize it, because I think about this a lot, the fear of disappointment, which is a big one for me because it links to that fear of regret. The fear of disappointment for me is actually quite crippling. It's one of the quieter ones, but it's always in the back of my mind. What if I do make it? What if I do get with this wonderful girl or have this wonderful career, but then it's taken away? There aren't many things that I can think of that would scare me or scar me as much as watching something that I've built for it just to collapse and crumble, or not to be at what you thought it was going to be. This has certainly affected relationships in my life, and I guess that comes back to the first point, or one of the first points I made about that, the girl. But it's A fear of disappointment in that she would be disappointed in me. And my little brain just can't handle it. As cliche or as simple as it sounds, such is life. I have learned this, and this is one of the biggest ones that I have learned, is that life is just not going to turn out the way that you ideally want it. You're going to have a great life, but there are things in it, and we all know this, it's not new information. Oh, well done, Jamie, you're so unique. There are just some things that are just not going to work out, and that's okay. That's just the way it is. This is truly the only one that I've really come to grips with, even though it's the quietest, but perhaps even the strongest reason that I self-sabotage. All of these ones I've spoken about are a combination, they're a tonic of every reason that I self-sabotage, and probably for you as well. It's usually not just one because they all just overlap anyway. And I think the biggest thing I've learned in this is that, and the whole point, well, part of the point of this journey is you need to become so competent, so confident in your abilities that you can rebuild no matter what. So go for the things you want, obviously, but know that maybe things won't work out, but you'll be okay anyway. I truly believe that the key to this and pretty much everything else in life, self-mastery is essential to achieving everything that we want. No matter how far you want to go, how extreme you want to go, how high you want to go. The truth is, I sabotage because I'm scared, and over the last couple of years I've learned a lot about fear and how I deal with it. But I've learned that fear isn't the end, or it shouldn't be a full stop. It shouldn't be a reason to stop moving towards your goal. It's a sign that you're where you need to be, and that it's just a sign that you need to grow. If you've ever felt that you are your own worst enemy, which I suspect a lot of you will watching this, just drop a comment. Let us know what you're battling at the moment, what excuses you've given yourself to stop completely following your dream, or why it's taken so long to get there. It's taken a long time for me to get here, and I feel like I'm only just at the starting line, which is exciting. I have so much hope, so much more hope than I had before. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.